Yeah.
About that.
It's showtime.
Welcome to the YatCast. This episode is about the Electoral College. But first, I would like to give thanks to all my real-life and social media friends and others who forced me to delve deeper into things, to find the underlying cause. They forced me to determine why things are or are not. They forced me to think about things in a way to see what could be or what cannot be. So, let's get started. Democrats, this one is for you. Before I start, this episode pulls a little bit from episodes 1, 3, 4, 5, 11, and 13. You may want to review them. Our founding documents have served us well for over 240 years. Of the 27 amendments, most were for clarifying rights or tweaking parts of the Constitution. However, one of them changed the very structure of the Constitution. This shows how their collective wisdom, intelligence, and knowledge forged a simple document that was very prescient and forward-thinking. Many books have been written about our founding fathers. So many, in fact, that they would probably fill a library by themselves. However, most tend to focus on a particular person and what they said and what they wrote, and then infer their thoughts in the whole process. There are also the Federalist Papers, which expound the virtues of the Constitution. There are also the Anti-Federalist Papers, which point out the flaws. They were not anti what was trying to be accomplished. Both are good reads. What they seem to neglect is the final product. It doesn't matter what they thought or wrote as individuals. The only thing that matters is what they put into the documents and the words they used, which were simple so that everyone could understand them. The U.S. House was set up to respond to the more immediate needs of the people and relied on direct voting for their selection. The U.S. Senate was set up to reflect the longer-term needs of the states. They were selected by the legislatures of the various states, which in turn actually represented the longer-term needs of the people through whatever electoral system the states set up. That changed in 1913 with the 17th Amendment, which actually altered the Constitution by making senators selected by direct election by the people. See episode 11 to see why this was a bad idea. When it came to selecting the president, at first glance, it seems like they gave us a clunky system that is called the Electoral College. Maybe it is. However, they had some very good reasons to do it this way. One reason is that they chose to do it this way was that they were afraid of a pure democracy, also known as mob rule, as much as they feared an oligarchy. They wove the Constitution to avoid placing too much power in the hands of any one group. Hence the separation of powers. See episode 5 to see what I'm talking about. A second one would be that it had to be inclusive of both the people and the states, as both have a vested interest in the success of our new nation. Another reason is logistics and time. As for time, they did not desire to have a protracted process. They wanted something to be done as expeditiously as possible. Logistics is another animal altogether. Back in the day, just to travel from Georgia in the south to Massachusetts in the north was a months-long process. Add to that, reaching out to all the small towns and villages inland for each of the states. It would have been a task of monumental proportions. Direct elections of the president would have been a logistical and temporal nightmare. So, after much deliberation, they handed us what we called the Electoral College, It is a system that is actually fairly straightforward and simplistic. The first two concerns I listed were handled by the selection of electors. It places an intermediary between the people, the states, and the election of the president. Logistics and time were handled by the electors traveling to meet to select the president, instead of having the candidates travel thousands of miles by horse or sea-going vessels. Here's how it was designed to work. The number of electors were tied to two things. First, it was tied to the census, much like the House of Representatives for the majority of electors. This provides for about 80% of the electors because the people are the country under our Constitution. These are elected by the populace, where they are to select people they trust to make good decisions on their behalf. They cannot be an already elected official to help prevent one ideology from gaining supremacy. Second, because each of the various states have a vested interest in the success of this country, there are 2 electors per state, just as there are 2 senators per state. They account for 20% of the electors. These electors are chosen by the legislatures of the state to represent the needs of their particular state. Like the electors chosen by the people, these electors cannot be currently holding public office. These electors then travel, meet with others, and choose the president and vice president. See, it isn't that complicated or hard to understand. Now, this is going to piss off the Democrats. Leave the Electoral College alone. I can understand being pissed about the 2000 election. It was close. The recount was in progress and almost completed. The Supreme Court should never have stepped in. They violated the Constitution and overstepped their bounds. There was nothing happening that required them to weigh in. The 2016 election is another matter. The Electoral College system worked exactly as it was intended to do. In any election, the object is to garner the most votes. The Electoral College works the same way. The only difference is that it is electors that must be swayed and not the populace. If anything, the election in 2016 should serve as a reminder to not ignore the smaller states, or the, quote, swing states, close quote. The candidates need to speak to and prove they speak for all U.S. citizens. Failure to do so is not a failure of the Electoral College. It is a failure of the candidate. Here's proof that it works. Trump did not win the popular vote in 2016. W. Bush did not win it in 2000. Clinton did not win the popular vote in 1996 or 1992. Nixon did not win it in 1968. Kennedy did not win it in 1960. So, in the last 60 years, the winner of the general election did not win the popular vote in almost 40% of the elections. It isn't that uncommon. It doesn't need to change. To undo the Electoral College by calling for direct elections is to tamper with the very foundation of this country. Even neutering it, as has been done in recent decades by pushing for the college to follow the popular vote, has altered our country. It will bring us to the opposite end of the spectrum of what our founding fathers desired to keep us from: mob rule, also known as pure democracy. Thank you for spending some time with me, and I'll see you at the next YatCast.
Are you enjoying the YatCast? Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/YatCast. That's https://www.patreon.com/YatCast.